To understand value, the first thing you have to do is value yourself.
Mm.
So don't value yourself in some external counting system like, how many beans you have or how many seeds you have, like how many, euros or yen you think you have, because what we're talking about disrupts that in a way that makes those number systems irrelevant. What they'll become, I don't know. And I don't think it's a catastrophe. There was a whole world of trade before the paper currencies of today that are going digital. There will be a whole world after it, guys. It's a way we treat each other, and it's been turned into a religion. So, know that you matter. And then what matters really about you is your consciousness. And so, first of all, know that that exists and know that it's important and start to get into that, whether it's through psychedelics or whether it's through, some kind of rite of passage. Our ancestors figured this out. They knew how to develop the mind. And then when you do that, as of right now, I personally, if you were, in finance, I would get into the degen crypto space. I would get into the decentralized AI space. I would get into what the free thinkers who are pushing this forward are doing right now, just to get some influence and also get some value behind you in spaces that grow really fast. And so, you can also lose a ton of money in those spaces. So you don't want to do that. You want to understand your thesis and follow it and be conservative in that nature. But I would get involved in that because we're training your thought, right? It's about a young person who's training the way they're thinking. So you have consciousness, you have early financial growth while the financial systems exist, but don't believe in them, because the AI we're talking about is going to take the elasticity out of the market-based systems, and the markets are going to disappear so fast because the AIs will trade both sides of the market to a standstill. So if both sides know the trade, there is no trade. What are you talking about? It's a fluid system. So this market economy based on an up-down price fluctuation, based on volume, based on market cap, goes away entirely. And it would be seen as such an inferior state of economy to the AIs we're talking about. It'd be like playing a poker game where you already knew 6 hands down the hand you're playing, like, let alone everything, every card, everything in the hand you're playing. Also 6 hands later in the future is that person playing. They're not even paying attention to the game. The economies are so simple to the kind of machines we're talking about. So I would already be thinking about how we transcend that. And then the last thing I would do is I would ask myself, do I have anything to offer that's part of the solution? Like, my legacy when I die, I want to know that I was participating in the solution, not the wallflower who is destined to die in the dystopian narrative. So I'm leaving the dystopian narrative behind. I want to get into this. And when you matter and you get into the importance of you and the value of you and the value of human relationships, as abstracted as these spaces are, some of the best human relationships I have come through this space. And so I would get involved in the consciousness / AI / crypto space to understand it and know it's a piece of the future of technology. And those would be my first steps.
Yeah, speaking from personal experience, like you said, when you stop counting the beans, I used my experience down at Blue Morpho to help, jettison myself from my corporate career of 12 years. And by the time I left, like, I was so disillusioned with really the planet and the world. And when I look at how I was thinking about things back then, I was kind of sour that the bill of goods I'd been sold when I had been brought up to kind of pursue this particular path down the traditional way of, getting a job and getting your 401k going and climbing the corporate ladder, and, getting the big 6-figure income, and then you're supposed to be happy. And it's like, what I figured out is I never actually got happy until I left that entire structure behind, took every cent that I owned, destroyed the 401k, and pushed it all into everything that I ever thought was cool, which the first things were like water skiing, the North Woods. I started a paddleboard shop, and I went from making a bunch of money doing something I hated to making no money doing things I loved. And then, eventually all I can say is, if you make these decisions, to not go down the path that's being prescribed to you, but to make the decision to just go after the things that you have passion for and let the chips fall where they may, I think what you'll find, and what many, many people find, is that if you can do that, the world will catch you in a way that will surprise you every single time. And the more you can let go of what you think you're supposed to do and just let sort of the winds of change push you in a certain direction and get your hook into something, like you said, in the consciousness space and artificial intelligence, but these things that are the bleeding edge of development. If you can find a way to get excited about some of those fast moving developments in technology or in culture, I think you'll find that your way of contributing value to those type of projects will manifest itself in front of you. This is what I've seen with BitTensor. Like, I can't code for shit, but I can do a podcast. And in the space for the project, nobody was doing a podcast. So I've been wanting to do one for a long time. I tried to do one about the end of the world and how I think everything sucks. And I recorded one episode and I'm like, I can't fucking do this. Like there was no way I was like running out of fuel after 15 minutes of yelling into the microphone, And so I found something I was passionate about, started spending my time learning how to contribute to the ecosystem with the skills that I have. And even though I can't code, I can make space for myself to do some valuable things to show people outside of the project that what's going on in it in a way that doesn't have too many layers of technology layered on the communication. So people, have a hard time understanding it. If I just explain to the level I can understand it, that tends to bring the average person on board with the project. And yeah, I think if you're a young person, that's great advice to kind of figure yourself out a little bit and then go out into the world and figure out where you can use your skill set that you've been developing in your life to make an impact in something that you care about. And hopefully you'll find your way. I think you will.